This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, am I audible?
Ma'am.
Okay. Is my screen visible to you? Hello?
No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Now, is my screen visible to you?
No, ma'am.
అదేంటి ఇక్కడ అన్ని కనిపిస్తున్నాయి నాట్ షో షేర్ నౌ
Yes, ma'am.
hello okay now okay good morning, sorry for my delay for the class because it's a network issue as usual. Today's topic is polyhydramnios. Coming to what do you mean by poly and what do you mean by hydramnios? Hydra is water, poly is more. Amniotic fluid origin. The origin of amniotic fluid, it is the precise origin where amnion is still not well understood. It's probably of a mixed maternal and fetal origin. Circulation. The water in the amniotic fluid is completely changed and replaced in every 3 hours. The presence of lamigo, that is the fetal cells, fetal epidermal skin cells, and which consists of the epithelial cells and the hair, which will be seen like a white flake, and the epithelial scales in the meconium shows that fluid is swallowed by the fetus and some of it passes from the gut into the fetal plasma. Amniotic fluid. The amniotic fluid is always, the volume of the amniotic fluid is always related to the gestational age. It measures 50 ml approximately around 12 weeks. Then it slowly starts increasing and reaches a 400 ml by 20 weeks. And it reaches its peak by 36 to 38 weeks, which is of 1 liter. Actually, peak is of, there should be there is a some gap because some book says 34 to 36 weeks the amniotic fluid reaches peaks, that is 1 liter. Some book says it is from 36 to 38 weeks. Thereafter the amount diminishes. At term we hardly see 600 to 800 ml of amniotic fluid. As the presence continues, further diminishes. As the pregnancy continues, it further diminishes, and it post term it is that at the 43 weeks it will be hardly 200 ml. So amniotic fluid first seen at 12 weeks, which is equal to 50 ml. At 20 weeks it will be almost approximately half liter. At 34 to 36 weeks it reaches to peak. After 36 weeks slowly it reduces every weekly. By 40 weeks, that is, or from 38 completed to 40 weeks, it reaches 600 to 800 ml. By 43 weeks it reaches 200 ml. So if any pregnancy is continued after 43 weeks, there will be no amniotic fluid, which will have increased maternal morbidity, that the chance of LSAS will be more, and fetal mortality and morbidity will be more chance. Okay. Now coming to the physical features of the amniotic fluid. The pH of the amniotic fluid will be alkaline in nature. The specific gravity is 1.0. Osmolarity will be 250 milliosmoles per liter. Color will be usually it is colorless in the early pregnancy. When you are able to see the amniotic fluid color, then it implies certain indications your antenatal bleed. That is, if it is blood stains, you have to think about your antepartum hemorrhages, maybe abruption. Maybe abruption. If it is your pale straw-colored fluid due to the presence of lanugo and epidermal cells. If it is turbid due to the vernix caseosa. If it is green or yellow in color, then it might be due to meconium stain or aspirate. Meconium, which baby has in the utero. The amniotic fluid, the same. Abnormal color. Green color, I request everyone to mute your copy. I request everyone to mute your settings, please. Guys, am I audible to you? Hello? Guys, am I audible to you? Okay. If it is abnormal color, if it is green color, we say it is a meconium. If it is green color, we say it is meconium stained. That implies the fetal distress. If it is golden color, RH incompatibility has occurred. Greenish yellow saffron, it is post maturity. Dark colored, maybe accidental hemorrhages. Anything such as placenta previa, abruption. Dark brown or tobacco juice, it will be like an IUD. This is the consequences of IUD, where the entire amniotic fluid will be replaced from colorless to dark brown in color. The composition of the amniotic fluid, it consists of 98 to 99% of water. Only solid component will be 1 to 2%, in which it compounds of both organic hormones. What are the organic things which in amniotic fluid contains are protein 0.3 mg percent, glucose 20 mg, NPN 30 mg, uric acid 4 mg, total lipids 50 mg. The hormones are which is present in the amniotic fluid are prolactin, insulin, and renin. And it also contains of urea and creatine, where urea constitutes to 30 mg percent and creatine 2%. Now, what you have to remember, the color of the amniotic fluid is usually colorless. But if there is any color adding to your amniotic fluid, then you have to think about the color, which color is present in the amniotic fluid and which condition it probably, hello? Which color the amniotic fluid is presenting and which condition it probably relates. If it is green color, meconium; golden color, RH incompatibility; red color, it is an any accidental hemorrhages because it is of blood stain; greenish yellow, post maturity; dark brown, IUD. Then coming to its composition of the fluid, 98 to 99% of the amniotic fluid is water. Only 1 to 2% is solid, in which organic such as proteins, glucose, NPN, uric acid, and total lipids are present. Other than the normal organic components, hormones such as prolactin, insulin, and renin will be present. The other things which are present are urea and creat. The amniotic fluid. Other than the organic, inorganic substances are also present in the amniotic fluid, such as sodium chloride and potassium, which is almost same. It will be same concentration in the maternal blood and the fetal blood. Other than the organic, inorganic, and hormones, what are the other things we see in the amniotic fluid, as we have already dealt before, such as all your suspended particles. What are might be the suspended particles? Your lanugo, the fetal hair, exfoliated squamous epithelial cells from the fetal skin, vernix caseosa, that is the white flakes, cells from the respiratory, urinary bladder, and vagina of the fetus. Why? Because the amniotic fluid will be taken into the body of the fetus by mouth, so it and comes out through the urinary bladder. So everything it comes out. So you might also see the cells of the respiratory tract, urinary bladder, exfoliated squamous epithelial cells of the fetal skin, lanugo, and vernix caseosa. The amniotic fluid. Now we have already dealt the color of the thing, specific gravity, osmolality, which is 250 milliosmoles per liter, and components of the composition of the amniotic fluid. Moving on to the next, the function of the amniotic fluid. What is the main function of the amniotic fluid? Why we are worried if it is more or if it is less in a particular patient who is pregnant? Because the main function of the amniotic fluid is to protect the fetus. During pregnancy, it acts as a shock absorber, maintains an even temperature between inside the utero. It also allows the growth and free movement of the fetus and prevents adhesion of the fetal between the fetal parts and the amniotic sac. It also gives you a nutritive value, which is little negligible in function. During the labor, the amnion and chorion are combined to form a hydrostatic wedge, which helps in dilatation of the cervix. During the uterine contractions, it prevents a marked interference with the uterine placental circulation. Why it has to prevent? Because any uterine contraction, it makes the uterus to come to like a if you have filled with a air in a balloon, and when you're slowly releasing it, what happens to the balloon? It comes to collapses. The same way, when uterus is contracting, it comes closer because of contractive fiber properties of the fibers. When it is coming closer, obviously if the baby is fit into the uterine cavity, it also makes the baby suffocate. But presence of amniotic fluid, it acts as shock absorber. So in spite of uterus coming to decreasing its size, the amniotic fluid will prevent the effect of the uterus on the fetus. So there will not be any fetal distress. That is the main function of the amniotic fluid during the labor. It guards against the umbilical cord compression. It flushes the birth canal at the end of the first stage of labor by its aseptic bactericidal action, which protects the fetus and prevents the ascending infection into the uterine cavity. How? Because what we know, at the end of the first stage, that is when your cervix is fully dilated and fully effaced, your rupture of membrane occurs. When the rupture of membrane occurs, there will be sudden gush of amniotic fluid, like how if we on a tap and leave, how it removes all the dust from the floor which is in contact. The same way, it suddenly releases all the amniotic fluid into the from the cavity into the cervical canal, which causes the flushing effect, that is, which fully washes away the cervical canal, thus preventing from the bacteria, thus preventing the sepsis. Because all the infection, if it is present also, the amniotic fluid which is coming from up will wash it away. So these are the main functions of the amniotic fluid. Amniotic fluid production, removal. The production is the translation of the maternal serum across the placental membranes, translation from the fetal circulation across the umbilical cord or the placental membranes, secretion from the amniotic epithelium. It also produces by the translation of fetal plasma through the highly permeable fetal skin before it is keratinized at 20th week. What do you mean by this highly permeable fetal skin before it is keratinized? Before 20th week is till 20 weeks of pregnancy, the fetal skin will be like a net in a water. If you place a net in a water, like how the water will get flowed from this side of the one side of the net to the other side, the same way your skin, fetal skin will be. It is fully permeable. The amniotic fluid will be flowing from this to this, from one side of the skin to other side of the skin. Till 20 weeks, skin will not be any barrier. From 20 weeks, the skin will go and undergo changes and becomes keratinized. Before that, it is non-keratinized, so it will allow the free transfer of the fluid. Once the 20 weeks reaches, it becomes keratinized and there will be obstruction to the flow of the amniotic fluid. So till then, it produces the amniotic fluid. It also is produced from the fetal urine, which is of daily output at term is 400 to 1200 ml. Fetal lung that enters the amniotic cavity adds to its volume also. Fetus, how the amniotic fluid is removed is the the fetus swallows about 500 to 1 liter of liquor every day. Intramembranous absorption of water and solutes from the amniotic compartment to the fetal compartment through the fetal surface of the placenta. Next, coming to the scheme showing the source and circulation of the amniotic fluid. Maternal circulation. From the maternal circulation, amniotic epithelium, placenta secretion starts. How the amniotic fluid is produced. Then what are the things which is producing not only from the maternal circulation of the amniotic epithelium, that is the placenta, fetal skin, fetal urine. Next, translation of placenta produces the amniotic fluid. After the amniotic fluid is produced, there will be certain mechanisms where the production and removal both are maintained. What are they? Intramembranous transport from the fetal circulation, exchange with the lung fluid, swallowing of the fetus, and intramembranous absorption. These are the things how the circulation of the amniotic fluid occurs in utero, and amniotic fluid volume is maintained. Coming to the topic, polyhydramnios. Anatomically, polyhydramnios is defined as state where the liquor amni exceeds more than 2000 ml. Clinical definition. The excessive accumulation of the liquor amni causing discomfort to the patient when the amniotic fluid index is more than 24 centimeters, more than 95th percentile, which forms the gestational age, and the deepest vertical pocket is of more than 8 centimeter. If the amniotic fluid index is more than 24 centimeter, or single deepest vertical pocket is measured when it is more than 8 centimeter, we call as polyhydramnios. The incidence of the polyhydramnios is 1 to 2%. It may be the result of the deficient absorption as well as the excessive production of the liquor amni, which may be temporary or permanent. The composition of the liquor amni, however, remains normal. Etiology. The etiology, what are the causes of polyhydramnios are idiopathic, that is 50 to 60%. Fetal anomalies might be one of the cause. Placenta, that is a big placenta, or hyperplasia of the placenta may occur, which causes increase in amniotic fluid secretion, multiple pregnancies, and maternal conditions. What are the etiology? Fetal anomalies. Congenital fetal anomalies, such as the structural and chromosomal, are associated with polyhydramnios in about 20% of the cases. The cause of excessive production of liquor amni may be due to translation from the exposed meninges, absence of fetal swallowing reflex, possible suppression of the fetal antidiuretic hormone leading to the excessive urination. Fetal anomalies. Open spina bifida increases the translation from the meninges. If there is a presence of any esophageal or duodenal atresia, it prevents the swallowing of the liquor. Any facial clefts and neck massages interfering normal swallowing. Any causes of hydrops fetalis due to rhesus isoimmunization, non-immune hydrops, cardiothoracic anomalies, fetal cirrhosis, and fetal infections with TORCH and parvovirus or any B19 infections. Any histories of aneuploidy and generic syndromes in the fetal anomalies may have a condition of polyhydramnios. Etiology. The fetal, see, these are the common anomalies which causes polyhydramnios. Anencephaly, absence of the brain, fetal scalp, esophageal atresias. So there will be defective swallowing, which is one of the removal, which is one of the way of removal of excessive amniotic fluid. Open spina bifidas, because of projection of the meninges, there will be excessive secretions. Cleft lip, cleft palate, the same. Hydrocephalus, a condition, and aneuploidies are the some common conditions where polyhydramnios is seen. Placenta, chorioangioma of placenta, that is the tumor growing from the single villus consisting of hyperplasia of blood vessels and connective tissues results in increased translation, so increased production. These are the fetal causes where there will be improper removal. Here, this is the placental cause which will be increased production. Multiple pregnancies, hydramnios is more common in monozygotic twins, usually affecting the second sac. In TTTS, the recipient twin develops polyhydramnios. Etiology, maternal. Diabetes 30%, it is more common in hydramnios. How the maternal diabetes causes polyhydramniosis? There will be raised maternal blood sugar, which causes raised fetal blood sugar, which causes excessive diureas and hydramnios. The common mechanism which occurs in the diabetes condition, where we will see polyuria and polydipsia. Cardiac and renal diseases may lead to the edema of the placenta, leading to increase in the transdation. Polyhydramnios. So what are the types of polyhydramnios? We see acute and chronic. Acute is extremely rare, where suddenly there will be increased in the liquor quantity within 1 day or 2 days. Chronic, which is most common, which is a slow and insidious onset, which takes few weeks to become, the patient becomes polyhydramnios. Polyhydramnios may be defined, classified into mild, moderate, severe according to the amount of fluid in the amniotic sac. If the deep, see, I have said you, I have used a word of two. One is AFI, one is deep vertical pocket. See, this is called deep vertical pocket. The red mark on the picture is deep vertical pocket. When you are mentioning the word deep vertical pocket, it implies only one pocket we are seeing. What do you mean by pocket? When the maternal abdomen will be divided into four quadrants, considering your umbilicus as center. So the transverse line will be passing through the umbilicus and vertical line will be passing through the umbilicus. Imagine your tummy, which is abdomen is divided into four quadrants with two lines. Then you say each part, each box is one pocket. When you are measuring four pockets and adding it implies it is total amniotic amniotic fluid index, that is the AFI. When you are seeing one pocket and deciding, then it is your deep vertical pocket. If your deep vertical pocket should be 2 to 8, anything more than 8 is polyhydramnios, less than 2 is oligohydramnios. If it is more than 8, then we call, if it is between 8 to 11, then it is mild, 12 to 15, moderate, more than 16, severe. This is how your abdomen is divided into four pockets, and your through ultrasound your amniotic fluid index is calculated. Coming to the chronic polyhydramnios, what are the symptoms? Symptoms mainly forms the mechanical causes. Those are respiratory shortness of breath because of excessive amniotic fluid in the abdomen pushes the diaphragm up and causes shortness of breath, palpitations, edema of legs due to the compression of IVC, varicosities in the legs, and hemorrhoids. Signs: the patient may be dyspneic state in the lying down position. Evidence of preeclampsia, edema, hypertension, proteinuria may be present. Chronic polyhydramnios. Abdominal examination. On inspection, abdomen will be markedly enlarged. That is, the size of the abdomen will be more than the size of the gestational age. It looks globular with fullness at flanks. Skin is tense, shiny with large stria due to excessive stretching of the skin. On palpation, the height of the uterus is more than the period of amenorrhea. The girth of the abdomen is more than the normal. Fluid thrill can be elicited in all directions because of the excessive amniotic fluid present. Fetal parts presence positions cannot be well defined because the fetal parts will be moving in the excessive amniotic fluid. External ballotment can be elicited more easily. What do you mean by external ballotment? Like when you're trying to palpate it, you can see you can feel like there is a bag of water, and if you put a stone in a balloon and if you fill it with a water, and if you're trying to locate the what do you mean by stone, how do you feel? It will be like vaguely understood where the stone is. The same way the patient's abdomen will be if she has the polyhydramnios. On auscultation, fetal heart sound is not heard distinctly because of the excessive fluid, although its presence can be picked up the Doppler ultrasound. Internal examination. The cervix is pulled up by maybe partially taken up, may be dilated or to admit a fingertip through which the tense bulb membranes can be felt. Investigations. What are the normal investigations when you have to send for a patient when you are when you have seen a patient of polyhydramniosis? First, ABO and RH grouping, that is your blood grouping and RH typing, because you have already known that it will be golden yellow amniotic fluid if there is any ABO incompatibility. So you have to know the ABO, that is a blood group, and RH typing. If any RH negative grouping is there, you have to, next thing comes to your mind is the cause might be of rhesus isoimmunization. So you have to rule out that. Your sugars have to be sent because you have already read that maternal cause of polyhydramniosis GDM. So why GDM causes excessive amniotic fluid? The same way, excessive production, excessive production, that is excessive increased sugar levels causes increased urination. So maternal sugars have to be checked out to rule out diabetes, which is a diabetes complicating pregnancy, which might be the cause of polyhydramnios, or the amniotic fluid, estimation of alpha fetoprotein to know all your open neural tube defects and all. Usually amniotic fluid we won't send for all the patients. First we will be ruling out your sugars, ABO incompatibilities, singleton or multiple pregnancies, because that might be one of the cause of polyhydramnios, or other conditions. What are the other conditions? We have to then again check for her TIFA. If the patient comes in the later pregnancy, you have to go back to your TIFA age of the patient and check whether there are any anomalies, fetal anomalies, which might be the reason of polyhydramnios, which we have overlooked that time. Or if she has underwent your double marker, triple marker, you have to go back to that report and check if we have overlooked anything or any alpha fetoprotein raised Down syndromes or any things which is causing the polyhydramnios in the patient. Next, get an ultrasound to actually locate how much is the amniotic fluid, that is your deepest pocket of single vertical pocket or all together, which implies your amniotic fluid in mid, to exclude the multiple fetuses, which might be one of the reason of your polyhydramnios, to note the lie and presentation of the fetus, which gives you a clue if the patient is term. Mode of termination of pregnancy can be elicited by knowing the lie, which we can directly take off a section, or to diagnose any fetal congenital malformations such as any CNS, GIT, and musculoskeletal. If by mistake, if at 20 weeks we might have missed anything. After investigation, then moving on to the management. Early detection and control of diabetes should be done if a patient is a known case of GDM, or if you are suspecting any patient on a borderline, thinking that she might land up with GDM and polyhydramnios. Rhesus isoimmunization is now preventable because we usually do blood grouping and RH typing early at the first visit only. If it is negative blood grouping, then we will go further with the husband's blood group to check any RH negative complicating pregnancy she might land up with, or any genetic counseling in the early months because of any detection of fetal congenital anomalies, that is your increased nuchal fold thickness in your 11-week scan, where if there is any increased NT or absence of nasal bone, which gives you an indication of which gives you an idea of fetal anomaly, or in your TIFA any fetal anomalous is there, or in your all your double markers, triple markers, and quadruple markers, then you have to go for a genetic counseling. Treatment of polyhydramnios is usually according to the underlying cause. Mild polyhydramnios, if it is between the 8 to 11 centimeters of the deep vertical pockets, it's commonly found in the mid trimester, usually requires no treatment. The excessive liquor is expected to be diminished as the pregnancy advances. If it is a severe polyhydramnios, that is more than 16 centimeters, here the patient might present you with dyspnea because your excessive amniotic fluid will push the diaphragm up, and the patient might have all your breathlessness and all. So here the main principles of treatment will be to relieve the symptoms, to find out the cause, to avoid and deal with complications. What are supportive treatment? Bed rest, treatment associated conditions like preeclampsia, diabetes. The use of diuretic is of little value. You can give furosemide diuretics. Sulindac, that is COX-2 inhibitors, 200 mg every 12th hourly under supervision can be given. Like your sildenafil citrate and also can be given, that is 25 mg. But now provenly it is stopped after 34 weeks because it causes patent pulmonary artery. It has been found to decrease the amniotic fluid as it reduces the fetal urine output. This is a schematic management of chronic polyhydramnios. Hospitalization, send all the investigations. If the fetal abnormality is found, referral to the maternal fetal medicine specialist. Pregnancy terminated on their opinion, terminated or continued depending upon the fetal abnormality detected, and how the fetal anomaly is going to have an effect on the fetal mortality and morbidity. Next, if no fetal abnormality is found, go for continuation of pregnancy until term and delivery at term. If the distress is transient, if the distress is persistent, pregnancy at 38 weeks, amnio reduction stabilizing with the oxytocin drip and ARM and delivery. If it is less than 37 weeks, amino reduction repeated till fetal maturity and deliver the patient. Any polyhydramnios patient, the risk during delivery is abnormal lie, PTH, abnormal labor. And when coming to maternal, there will be even though all your reports are negative, there will be more chances of fetal malformations which have to be excluded and explain to the patient. If any patient comes to you with a history of polyhydramnios at 38 weeks, you have to clearly explain her that in spite of all your sugars normal, in spite of no complicating pregnancies, in spite of all your NTs, nasal bones, strip markers, TIFA, everything is normal, there will be little chance of your fetal abnormality. That has to be the risk has to be explained clearly to the patient. Coming to amniocentesis. Amniocentesis is your amnio reduction. Slow decompression is done at the rate of 500 ml per hour, and the amount of fluid to be removed should be sufficient enough to relieve the mechanical distress. Normally, amino drainage is stopped when the AFI is less than 25 centimeters. Because of slow decompression, the chances of accidental hemorrhages is less, but liquor amne may accumulate, for which the procedure may have to be repeated again and again. Amniotic fluid can be tested for fetal lung maturity, so that if the patient is having any fetal distress, or if the amniotic fluid is recurring more than the amount we have, getting produced more than the amount we have drained, then go for amniotic fluid testing for fetal maturity. If you find the report of positive fetal lung maturity, then go for an termination of pregnancy. This is how your amniocentesis is done. A syringe is introduced under ultrasound guidance into the uterus through the abdominal wall. Then slowly it is aspirated. Usually they aspirate only 300 to 500 ml per day. And repeat scans have to be checked because you may not know how much is fluid again it is secreted. The only drawback of amniocentesis is if you have removed 500 ml today, by tomorrow if you do a scan again, your 700 ml fluid will be again accumulated in the sac. Complications, maternal and fetal. Coming to maternal, during pregnancy, polyhydramnios may result in preeclampsias, malpresentations, persistent of floating head, where the head will not get engaged because of excessive fluid. Premature rupture of membranes might occur. Preterm labor, either spontaneous or induced. Accidental hemorrhages are most common. During labor, early rupture of membrane occurs, cord prolapse, inertia, uterine inertia, that is which leads your PPH, any retained placenta, shock, increased risk of operative deliveries due to malpresentations. During puerperium, polyhydramnios is one of the reasons for your subinvolution. Increased puerperal morbidity due to infection resulting from the increased operative interferences and blood losses. When it comes to your fetal complications, it might cause the prematurity because we terminate usually pregnancies prematurely, congenital abnormalities, hydrops fetalis, effects of increased operative delivery, and accidental hemorrhages. Acute polyhydramnios. Acute hydramnios is very rare. The onset is acute and the fluid accumulates within few days. It usually occurs before 20 weeks of pregnancy. It is usually associated with monozygotic twins or with twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome or chorioangioma of placenta. Acute polyhydramnios. Usually they present suddenly with abdominal pain, nausea, and vomiting. The signs will be patients looks ill, absence of features of shock, edema of legs will be seen. Abdomen is usually enlarged and more than the periods of amenorrhea. The wall will be tense and shiny skin due to excessive stretching of the skin. Fluid thrill is present. Fetal parts cannot be felt, nor the fetal sound is audible. Internal examination reveals taking up of the cervix, even dilatation of the arse through which the bulged membranes are felt. Sonography shows multiple fetuses or at times fetal abnormalities also. Acute polyhydramnios treatment, which is most often spontaneous abortion occurs. In cases with severe TTTS, repetitive amino reduction, that is your amniocentesis until AFI is normal, may improve the perinatal outcome. Laser ablation may cure the TTS, whereas the amino reduction only treats the symptoms. That's it. This is this is the actual topic of polyhydramnios: definition, causes, production and maintenance, then your types and their management. That's it for today. Guys, am I audible? Did you people listen to the topic?
Yes, ma'am.